Good morning, everybody. Yes, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good
Morning.
morning, Mary. Hey, Charles.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Let me know when you're ready to count down.
I'm ready when you are.
We can begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good morning. I'm Kenya McDuffie, council member for Ward 5 and chair of the council's Committee on Business and Economic Development. Today's Thursday, November 17th, 2022, and we're convening this additional meeting of the committee virtually via Zoom. We're also streaming live on KenyaMcDuffieWard5.com. The time is 10:31 a.m. and I'm calling to order this additional meeting of the committee. For the record, I'd like to note that we have a quorum which consists of Ward 3 Councilmember Mary Che, Ward 6 Councilmember Charles Allen, and myself. Today, the committee will consider and vote on the following measures. Bill 24-466, the St. Elizabeth East Parcel 13 Surplus Declaration and Disposition Approval Act of 2022, Bill 24-953, the Malcolm X Surplus Declaration and Disposition Approval Act of 2022, Bill 24-997, the Hill East Phase 2 Bundle 1 Surplus Declaration and Disposition Approval Act of 2022, Bill 24-1033, the Hill East Phase 2 Bundle 2 Surplus Declaration and Disposition Approval Act of 2022, Bill 24-712, the Domestic Worker Employment Rights Amendment Act of 2022. The St. Elizabeth East Parcel measure was introduced on October 26, 2021 by Chairman Mendelson at the request of the mayor and referred to the committee on November 2nd, 2021. The committee held a hearing on this measure on February 22nd of this year. The bill declares as surplus and disposes for private development, parcel 13 of the St. Elizabeth East Campus. Parcel 13 is approximately 138,000 square feet of vacant land at 1100 Alabama Avenue Southeast in Ward 8. The St. Elizabeth campus is a National Historic Landmark and was transferred to the district government by the federal government in 1987. As a result of the mayor declaring this property no longer needed for public purposes, this act would approve the disposition of parcel 13 to Neighborhood Development Company, LLC, pursuant to DC Code 10-801 and subject to a 99-year ground lease. The developer plans to construct approximately 21,000 square feet of retail and commercial space in addition to approximately 421 residential units and 240 underground spaces. By law, at least 30% of the units must be affordable. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I move the draft committee report in print with leave for staff to make technical, editorial, and conforming changes. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 And we're also joined by Ward 2, Councilmember Brooke Pinto. Good morning to you. Any opposed? The ayes have it unanimously, and the measure is approved. All right, next is the Malcolm X Surplus Declaration and Disposition Approval Act of 2022, which was introduced on July 14th, 2022 by Chairman Mendelson at the request of the mayor on September.
Progress.
Referred jointly to the Committee on Government Operations and Facilities and the Committee on Business and Economic Development. The committees held a joint public hearing on the bill on October 20th, 2022. The bill would declare approximately 1 acre of district-owned real property located at 1351 Alabama Avenue Southeast in Ward 8 as surplus and approve its disposition to Congress Park Community Partners, LLC, pursuant to DC Code 10-801 and subject to a 99-year ground lease. The developer plans to construct a mixed-use building that will contain approximately 180 affordable rental units, 75,000 square foot of daycare space, 2,000 square foot of retail space, and a healthy food retailer. The housing program will be entirely affordable as the units designated for households who earn between 30% and 60% of the median family income. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I move the draft committee report in print with leave for staff to make technical, editorial, and conforming changes. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. The next measure, Bill 24-997, the Hillies Phase 2 Bundle 1 Surplus Declaration and Disposition Approval Act of 2022 was introduced on September 19th, 2022 by Chairman Mendelson at the request of the mayor and refers to the Committee on Business, actually on the Committee on Government Operations and Facilities, as well as the Committee on Business and Economic Development on September 20th, 2022. The committees held a joint public hearing on the bill on October 25th, 2022. If approved, this measure would declare a surplus district-owned real property located at 1900 Massachusetts Avenue Southeast, comprised of 5 parcels within Lot 815 and portions of Lot 0007 in Square 1112E. The measure would also approve the disposition of the property to Hillies Bundle 1 LLC, the developer pursuant to DC Code 10-801 and subject to a 99-year ground lease for parcels B1, B2, F2, and G2, and fee simple for parcel A. The developer plans to construct a mixed-use development consisting of approximately 1,068 residential units, of which approximately 712 units will be affordable, approximately 25,000 square feet of leasable retail space. And is there any discussion? Councilmember Charles Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just going to make some brief comments, and I can speak to both Bundle 1 and Bundle 2, but I'll just do it one time and just kind of incorporate that if I can for both pieces. First off, I wanted to thank you for moving these forward. The Hill East bundles, also referred to frequently as Reservation 13, are sites that have been at least 20 years in the making to get to this next step that we're about to take. I really appreciate the work from the community across the board. It's also right on the border of Ward 6 and Ward 7. So when we began this process many, many years ago, it was in Ward 6. It's now currently in Ward 7. But I really appreciate the collaboration across wards to make sure we're seeing a unified and shared vision about what can happen here, which is, frankly, just the ability for us to build more city, to be able to create new homes as we're facing an affordable housing crisis, to be able to build new homes, to be able to prioritize the affordable housing to be created, to create new businesses that are going to create more jobs in our city, for new parks and green spaces to rebuild, all right next to metro accessibility. So I am excited about this next step. There are times at which it felt like this would never come. And so I'm grateful that we're seeing this and being able to move this next step forward. I also want to thank the development teams in particular. And I think these are going to be ongoing and continuous conversations, but one of the big priorities for the ANCs and communities right around this area is also making sure that as this building of new city takes place, that it also is going to be inclusive of a lot of our senior needs. So organizations like Capitol Hill Village and others have really talked about how we make sure these spaces are going to include housing specifically for aging in place and for senior communities. And I appreciate the developers that have engaged with Capitol Hill Village and others to help think through not just housing, but services. I want to continue that and keep pushing for that because it's a big part of realizing this ultimate vision here. But I could say the exact same thing for Bundle 2, but I'll just say it once for this and for the measure we're about to take up after this one. If I can certainly have my points incorporated into the record for those two, but I appreciate it, Mr. McDuffie, for moving this forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Allen. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'm going to move the draft committee report in print with leave for staff to make. Oh, I'm sorry, I already did that. Oh, no, I haven't moved it actually. To make technical, editorial, and conforming changes. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. Next is Hilly's Phase 2, Bundle 2, Surplus Declaration and Disposition Approval Act of 2022, which was introduced on September 30th, 2022 by Chairman Mendelson at the request of the mayor. On October 4th, 2022, the bill was referred jointly to the Committee on Government Operations and Facilities, as well as the Committee on Business and Economic Development. The committees held a joint public hearing on the bill on October 25th, 2022. If approved, this measure would declare as surplus district-owned real property known as Hilly's Phase 2 Bundle 2, located between Independence Avenue Southeast and Massachusetts Avenue Southeast, east of 19th Street Southeast, also known for taxation purposes as a portion of lot 0007 and square 1112E. The measure would also approve the disposition of property to R13 Community Partners LLC, the developer pursuant to DC Code 10-801 and subject to a 99-year ground lease for parcels C and E and a fee simple arrangement for parcel H. Developer plans to construct a mixed-use development consisting of approximately 1,246 residential units, of which 741 would be affordable and approximately 60,000 square feet of retail space, a 150 key hotel, a central park named in honor of Alicia Rudd, and approximately, I already said that part. Is there any discussion on this measure incorporating into the record the remarks already made by Ward 6 Council Member Charles Allen? Hearing none, I move the draft committee report in print with leave for staff to make technical, editorial, and conforming changes. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. The final measure is Domestic Worker Employment Rights Amendment Act of 2022, which was introduced on March 15th, 2022 by Councilmember Silverman, along with myself, Council Members Robert White, Allen, Bonds, Henderson, Lewis, George, Nadeau, and Pinto. On June 28th, 2022, the measure was sequentially referred to the Committee on Government Operations and Facilities, the Committee on Labor and Workforce Development, and the Committee on Business and Economic Development. The Committee on Labor and Workforce Development held a public hearing on the measure on June 16th, 2022. This committee makes no substantive changes to the identical committee print put forward by the previous two committees, which have already marked up the measure. If approved, the bill would eliminate the historic exclusion of domestic workers from protections of the DC Human Rights Act and the DC Occupational Safety and Health Act. The measure would require a services contract with specific information included when a hiring entity employs a domestic worker. It would also establish a voluntary mediation process that parties can use if a dispute arises in the domestic work context, and it would specify the powers of the DC Attorney General and Mayor to enforce the law, among other things. This bill is important because it dismantles longstanding labor policy and rectifies a legacy of slavery that unfairly has excluded Black women and other women of color from crucial employment benefits and worker protections for nearly a century. In DC, this bill is a testament to the long-time advocacy and commitment of domestic workers. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Allen, and then followed by Councilmember Pinto.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick note. I appreciate that we're moving this forward today. This is incredibly important. I know this has been an issue we've been debating for the last couple of years about how we make sure we do right and legally right for all domestic workers. And I think, as you aptly pointed out in your comments, really help make sure that our law does not actually have baked in discriminatory practices. And so this is a significant right sizing of that. And I also want to note, this has been a bill that has been a subject of some pretty intense advocacy. And I certainly appreciate all the voices that have worked hard to advocate for this bill. But Mr. Chairman, you made a commitment that you were going to move this forward, and just appreciate your good to your word that this is coming up. So this measure will be able to be put before the full council by before the end of the year. So I appreciate the step we're taking today. Appreciate realizing that commitment. So that happens today, as you said it would. So appreciate that and look forward to supporting it today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Allen. Councilmember Pinto.
Thank you so much, Chairman McDuffie, for moving this bill today. And I also want to thank Councilmember Silverman for introducing this bill. And as my colleague noted, all of the domestic workers and advocacy groups and the Alliance of Domestic Workers who've been working so hard on this bill, really making the case for how important this protection is on behalf of so many of our domestic workers, the majority of whom are women in our city. And we rely on our domestic workers for so many important roles, perhaps most critically, and one of the most critically, caring for and helping to raise our children. And it's critical that we ensure these workers are protected and treated with dignity. This bill is long overdue to ensure that our domestic workers have employment rights, and the stories that I have heard of workers being taken advantage of or of contracts not being honored under their current structure is really heartbreaking and unacceptable. So I am thrilled to be supporting this bill today. It's one tool to right this wrong. Thanks very much.
And thank you, Councilmember Pinto. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I move the draft committee report in print with leave for staff to make technical, editorial, and conforming changes. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Hi.
Any opposed? The ayes have it unanimously, and the measure is approved. This concludes the additional meeting of the committee. The time is now 10:48 a.m. and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks.